Okay, well, hey guys, welcome to another episode of This Feral Life. It's with your hosts Eric and
Vanessa.
and we're trying to fake motivation, guys. It's Wednesday. It's middle of the week. It's been a long, hot, ridiculously hot week here in Texas, and it's just one of those days. But so today's episode is going to be about seed saving. And seed starting, because we just started a bunch of flower seeds just for fun.
Yeah.
You know, with the little beast. We got some marigolds and some sunflowers. And during the whole seed saving kind of process, you came across some pretty cool beans, right?
Yeah, we came across the Anasazi beans. So I was really excited about them because just the history on them, they're about 750 years old. They're known for surviving in severe droughts. You only have to water them once a year. And that's very intriguing for me. And they're gaining their momentum again and their popularity again because they're easier to digest. So I'm really drawn to them. So I looked it up. The best time to plant them, since I'm in zone 8, is going to be the last freeze, which is around February 28th here in South Texas. So they're gonna be in the ground by then. By then we should already have our house. So we should already have our garden going, and I'm gonna get ready to plant those here in February and let you know how that goes and how that journey, comes full circle and stuff. I want to share that with you guys, but I think that's pretty cool. So anybody else that wants to plant them out there with me, let's do this. February 28th if you're in zone 8, or just look to see when the best time to plant them is in your zone. And that'd be kind of fun to hear how it's going for you guys and how you like the bean. So it's supposed to be a much sweeter bean.
They're cool looking too.
Yeah, they are. They're red and white.
Yeah,
speckled
like
white. Yeah.
We're like 8B, the border of 9. So like some of the USDA maps say like 8B and some of them say 9.
Yeah.
So we're just between 8 and 9.
Yeah.
Which works. We can pretty much grow whatever we want. And usually the last frost, I'm like the only frost. We have like 3 weeks of cold weather where we can't grow anything, and that's generally February, right?
Yeah.
Every year it's been like, hey, the weather's super nice. It's like it's Christmas and 75 degrees, and you're outside and just wearing flip flops and shorts. And then there's like February rolls around and it's just like cold overnight. And then by January, it's back to being nice. So yeah, we got like 3 weeks of cold weather, which is fine. It gives you a chance to not be playing in the garden.
Did you mean March?
By
March, it's fine. You said January.
Yeah, but January, there's still nice days. It's not usually really frozen.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's like, remember Snowvid?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Snowvid.
I don't want to remember Snowvid.
Where we had this weird Arctic blast. And it killed all the trees in Texas. Everybody had palm trees and all sorts of stuff. And it killed like all of them all the way down to the border. And it got like negative 20 degrees. And it was just like apocalyptic. Like everybody's pipes burst. The power grid failed. Like the only reason we survived is we had those kerosene heaters.
Yeah.
But we had like a whole garage full. And because we used to live on the farm, we had a really like drafty house, and when it would get chilly, it would get chilly in that house. So we'd have these kerosene heaters that they're what are they, 28,000 BTU kerosene heaters. You just fill the bottom,
Those
and they have a big
nice.
wick.
Yeah.
Man, they're awesome. You cook on top of them. They're really, really neat.
Which we never had to, but they were really nice.
I made pancakes once.
Not when I was there.
Not when you were there.
That was Vanessa.
Pre-Vanessa. But
Yeah.
I made pancakes once to see if I could. It worked.
Did it?
Oh, yeah. No, that thing, you can watch the heat rise off of it in the middle of your room.
Yeah, it really warmed a big room, so I was really grateful for
We
those.
loaned
I felt like it was a lot colder in West Texas.
Yeah, it was a lot colder.
I guess the flatness and the dryness.
The wind, constant wind.
God, it was a bone-chilling wind.
Yeah.
I couldn't stand it.
But, we loaned those heaters out. Did we ever... We got one of them back.
Yeah, we have them. They're great.
But they worked out really, really well.
Yes.
I totally recommend those little heaters if you're gonna find them. I know you can get them on eBay and Amazon. Sometimes Tractor Supply has them, but they only carry them really during the winter months. They don't really carry them year round.
Yeah.
But they're really neat. But yeah, so we only get like it's February. That was February too. And then the last year, the one cold spell was in February as well.
Okay, well, since it's kind of an oddity of our zone, like being on the cusp of 8 and 9, let's just say March 1st.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, March. That's about right.
Right?
Yeah, because I mean, a lot of people around here put out like their tomatoes in the middle of March.
Okay.
So yeah.
It's on in March. Well, that's when we'll start growing everything, and of course, you'll be able to visit our Instagram and see what we're up to, and then just learn as you go.
Yeah, I keep forgetting to put stuff up there. I've been putting stuff up there. Like I put our little seed starting stuff to like yesterday up there, little jelly cups. Those little jelly cups worked really well. They're like, I guess they're 5. I got them from Walmart. They're 25 to a pack, and I think they're like 4-ounce deli cups. And I just poked some holes in the bottom of them. I tried to use a nail. They're too tough for nails. What I ended up doing was getting my Dremel tool and the burr tool and just like and making 3 little holes at the bottom, and then just filling them with a coconut blend, the like seed starting mix I just bought over the counter, and it worked out really well. Each one's its own little greenhouse, so I'm quite impressed with that. The tops were not easy to get on, but once they're on, I mean, they're kind of baby proof. They're you don't have to water them because they're a little greenhouse.
Yeah.
And when the seeds pop up, you pop the top off, let them grow up a little bit, then pop them out and put them on the ground. But they're sturdy enough to use several times. Like they're pretty sturdy. I was quite surprised. I think it was like $5 for 25 of them from Walmart, which is a little bit expensive to me for seed starting gear, but just the small amount of space they took up and the fact that they have a top and like their own little greenhouse. I was just very happy with that. So yeah, you've got pictures of those beans up. Those are really pretty.
They are really pretty. I'm really intrigued. Okay, so they actually found them in a clay pot, which is what intrigues me the most. Is that they were found in a clay pot, dated back, like I said, either 1500 or 750. They haven't been able to decide.
But still forever.
But still forever, right? Yeah. So they were I guess dehydrated. And so you had to, just soak those in water, but they're generally not, these aren't like your normal beans where you have to pre-soak them overnight and all that. You just literally cook, grab them and cook them. But those particular beans that they found in the clay pot were dehydrated and they had to re-soak them. And then they cooked them and they were fine. They tasted perfectly fine. And that's amazing. So if you can grow some of these beans and store them, I mean, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, seeds are awesome. I remember there was that Methuselah date that they found some dates in a tomb, and they came out to be 10,000-year-old date seeds.
Oh,
and
cool.
They planted them, and that's where you get the Methuselah date tree from.
I love dates. Okay, now I need a Methuselah date tree.
Yeah, me too. Simply because it's a date that like
Stock Bros.
It was like they don't have them.
Oh,
you can buy
no.
them. You can buy them only from certain places, and all of the funds go towards, like I think Israel or something like that.
Yes, we love Israel.
Yeah. So but it's really neat. I think it's the oldest. No, they had older seeds. They found some seeds in the tundra that were squirreled away by a little ground squirrel, and it turned out to be like a type of chrysanthemum, like a little white flowered chrysanthemum, and they were 34,000 years old. And those are the oldest seeds they've been able to germinate.
Wow.
They found him in the tomb of the little ground squirrel. He was all like, he was mummified in there as well. He just went to sleep and didn't wake back up. But because of his little squirrel.
Poor little squirrel.
Yeah. Because of his little squirreling habit, though, we have these seeds. I mean,
that's
those
cool.
ones you can actually order those seeds and grow them, but they have a super short genome. Because they haven't picked up all the junk DNA and stuff. So it's pretty neat. I thought that was pretty cool. Those are the oldest examples I could think of old seeds. Now, I'm not saying that you're going to go and store your tomato seeds from last year for 10,000 years. Generally, when you're storing seeds for your garden, you want to use them the next year or the year after. But I do strongly suggest that when you store seeds, you want to store more than you think you need. In case there's a crop failure, you don't lose your favorite tomato, right? And the more generations that you save seeds, the better adapted those seeds are to your growing environment. So you see some of these elderly people who are growing gardens, and it just looks like they accidentally throw stuff in the ground, and it just makes massive tomatoes and massive peppers. It's because they've been saving seed from year to year, and that seed has become adapted to how they grow stuff and their growing conditions, and that's how they're growing those award-winning fruits. Let's see. Oh yeah, no. What was that cool thing about the corn? I was looking it up. Oldest corn varieties. So corn's been around for 9,000 or so years in Mexico and South America. So about 4,000 years ago, something interesting happened to corn. About 4,300-year-old corn remnants found in Central America, El Gigante rock shelter, had come from fully domesticated and highly productive varieties. So they've done the DNA on them and found that they were just about as productive as the corn that we grow today. The corn cobs are slightly smaller, but they've been it turns out there's like people who do their entire life studying corn, which
interesting.
I mean, okay. I mean, there's somebody that's got to study everything, right?
Yeah.
But there's people that study their entire lives about corn, which is really interesting. That I didn't know that we've been accidentally or maybe on purposely or a byproduct of the natural selection process. Over time, corn has become more nutrient dense. Like it's worth more calories over time. Just where it started off as a little bitty guys, where it was tessinate, I believe is what it was called, and which looked kind of like a wheat with a little kernel wrapped up in a really tight little set of leaves. And then over time, we just select for the bigger and the bigger and the bigger, and we got husks and ears of corn. So they found the El Gigante rock shelter is remarkable because it contains well-preserved plant remains spanning the last 11,000 years. There's over 10,000 maize remains from whole cobs to fragmentary stalks and leaves have been identified. Many of those remains date late in time, but throughout extensive radiocarbon study, we identify some of the remains dating as early as 4,300 years ago. So something interesting happened back then because the corn that was found in Mexico 5,000 years ago was only partially domesticated. But the corn that was found in South and Central America was 4,300 years ago, so 700 years earlier, or 700 years later, right? 700 years earlier, later. I think it's, hold on, my brain's freezing out, guys. Like, because I'm like, 5,000?
You look like you're short-circuiting.
I did, but I blinked because I was like, 4,300 is not as high as 5, but are we getting closer or further away? And I was like, okay, so we're getting closer. We're getting closer, right? So 700 years closer to our time, and it's fully domesticated. So something magic happened in that 700 years. Now, you think 700 years is a long, long time. And, I mean, yeah, I guess it is a long time. But for pre-industrial civilization, where you literally had to march the seeds from one place to another, and then grow them out and keep them growing exactly the same from time to time, it's really not that small, not that large of amount of time to have it migrate, thousands and thousands of miles and stay the same instead of going wild again or ending up contaminated or one way or the other. So pretty cool, pretty neat. Mm-hmm. And most of this stuff we eat comes from Peru, weirdly, right? It's got to be one of the places we got to go visit.
Yeah,
because
definitely
corn
on the bucket list.
And potatoes and all this other stuff come from Peru. It was all domesticated in Peru.
I love corn and potatoes.
There's something like 10,000 varieties of potato still regularly grown in Peru. Weird as hell, huh?
Why? What's special about Peru and its climate?
Magic? I don't know. Those people are cool.
Magic soil?
They climb like the Himalayas.
That's so cool.
But just look up the types of potatoes.
Wow.
Yeah, see, look, everything comes from there.
Oh, camote. I love camote. That's awesome.
Yeah. Like corn, it says maize, whatever.
Maíz.
Okay, I don't I'm not that good at the languages.
Okay. Cool.
Potatoes.
Okay,
But these are
definitely.
regular. These are regular potatoes, not like the sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes, they're a yam, and they came from Africa. But like actual like finger potatoes, like potatoes.
Nice.
They all came from Peru, which is really cool, right?
That is really cool.
And they're beautiful. And if you ever want to get look at those, look at the colors.
We
If you
definitely
guys
have
want
to
to
go
go
down.
ahead and type in like types of potatoes in Peru and just hit enter and then just hit images, it will blow your mind. Some of these look like bunches of grapes. Some look like pineapples under the ground. Like they're really, really, really neat. And those turned into the potatoes that we eat nowadays. That's really, really cool, right? So awesome. And some of these, they're actually growing from seed, like true potato seed, instead of actually like chopping them up like
Yeah.
we do nowadays. So to keep potatoes in America like pure, so what you're putting in the ground is a russet, and you're going to get back out a russet. You have to like chop the potato and have a couple of eyes on it. Then you let it dry for a little while, and that is a term called big long name. And it's where you let the little skin, the part you chopped, like dry out and turn into kind of like a little scab, and so it doesn't get infected with like ground rot and stuff.
Oh, that makes sense.
And then you drop it in the ground, but it only takes like it only takes a good hour or 2 hours to do it. It doesn't take long. If you're on a warm day and you're chopping up your potatoes to put in the ground, by the time you get your hole dug and your potatoes all chopped up, they're scabbed over. That's what it's scabbed over. Yeah. I'm sorry. That was not the
that
long.
was a long. That was not a long word.
That was not.
Are you okay?
It's the stroke from earlier catching up. Okay, we're trying to math. It's just catching up. Okay, so potato. Let's. We've kind of got all over the place because we got really excited about beans and corn. So let's talk about how we save our tomato seeds, because tomatoes are really easy to save seeds from, guys. And a lot of people have struggled with that because of the gel coating around the seed, but tomatoes are probably the easiest. I go and I find a tomato that I really like, right? And it just might be the first tomato or the biggest tomato or one that just catches my eye on the vine, right? And I leave it on the vine until it becomes squishy. So until it's just to the point where it is starting to self-break down, right? And I pull it off the vine. Now, you might need to protect it from critters by tying it up in a bag or, putting it in some pantyhose or a sock or something to keep, especially birds, because once they start getting super sweet, the birds just attack them. And then I take it inside, pop the stem off, and throw the whole thing in a blender. Just tomato, all of it. Then I throw in like a teaspoon of sugar, and pulse it a couple times. Sometimes I add in a dash of water, some unchlorinated water, so just like well water or a bottled water, but not just our tap water this time of year. It smells like pool water. And because where we live, all of the wells are real shallow, so they have to kill off algae and stuff. And then I put it into a jar, and I take a small glove, like a medical glove, and I stretch it over the top of the jar. So like a wide mouth jar, stretch the glove over the top, and I leave it alone. But just put it somewhere. It's going to have everything in there from the skin that it needs to ferment. It'll do a lacto or even like a yeast-like ferment. It's going to get all bubbly, kind of nasty looking. The glove's going to inflate, and then it's going to deflate. And after it deflates, you're done. You take your jar, take the glove off, fill your jar with water, put a lid on it, shake the crap out of it, and then just pour off everything on top. Everything that floats is the bad seeds and the skins and nothing you want. And then you rinse it a couple of times like that, and all your seeds that are good are on the bottom. They've been fermented, the coating is gone, and they've also simulated going through like the gut of an animal. A lot of seeds in the Solanaceae, which are like your peppers, your eggplants, your tomatoes, your potatoes, stuff like that. A lot of them like to be distributed by birds. And so they like that fermentation process. And you'll find that so if you take your regular seeds from you go to Walmart, HEB, whatever grocery store you got, and you go buy a tomato from the grocery store, and you bring it home. You just scrape the seeds out on a plate. You let them dry, and then you take those seeds and you pop them in the ground. You get like a 60-70% germination rate, just because you've got that little coating on there that once it rehydrates has a tendency to attract bacteria to your seeds and can kill your seeds. But once they're fermented, you can just accidentally drop them on the ground and they're bam. Your germination rate, especially because you poured off all the bad ones, goes to 99% plus.
And the adaptability from them being from the previous.
Yeah. So
grow.
you're saving them from the previous grow.
Yeah.
Now, I do strongly suggest that people, what's a good one? Pirate seeds from the grocery store. If you find a particularly good heirloom tomato, there's nothing that's stopping you from saving those seeds. If you find a particularly good pepper, there's nothing that's stopping you from saving those seeds. How often do we do it? I'm like, we go to the grocery store, I'm like, oh, that was a good bell pepper. Save those seeds. You know, we've got seeds on a plate over here from those weird peppers that we bought. Like, they were just, they're just weird peppers. It literally doesn't even tell you what variety they are. They just say conglomerate, you know, just like it's a bunch of long, sweet peppers. And I was like, those are interesting. Save those seeds. There's nothing at all that's stopping you from saving seeds from the grocery store. Now, the fermentation process, you can do that with any fruit or vegetable. They will very much like it. Very, very much like it. Especially melons. If you're saving melons are designed to go through the gut of an ungulate, right? Or in some cases, pigs, right? So they're designed to go through the guts of like deer, pigs, not cattle really. They got too many stomachs. They will, and they'll survive, but they don't really like that. Horses, goats, things like that, designed to go through the guts of those guys. So that's why they got that little torpedo shape and they're real slippery. They're designed to like shoot right through. But you take your melon and you find a super ripe one. It's okay if it's been eaten by bugs a little bit or it's got a couple holes in it. Just take it, scrape out like everything on the inside that's sloppy. All the guts, maybe a little bit of the fruit if you want. I just usually take my hand, grab a handful of it, guts and all, drop it into a jar, whisk the crap out of it with a fork and some water. And it's got plenty of sweetness in there. Stretch the glove over it. Glove inflates, glove deflates. Good to go. All the good seeds sink, all the bad stuff floats. And that's going to be the exact same way for everything. All of your good seeds will sink. All of your bad seeds will float. And that is how seeds are saved on a commercial scale. Is they do a light fermentation on, like if you're doing saving for tomatoes, like Burpee Seeds or somebody who's like a big-time grower or a big-time seed distributor, is they have these huge vats of tomatoes, and they'll just send them all through the grinder, grind them all up, dump them in a vat, throw away in a bunch of water, put a top on the vat, put an off gas way, for an off gas. Wait a week to 10 days. All the bad seeds will float. They just dump it off. All the good seeds go to the bottom, and they just open the little valve, and all the bad good seeds gush out, and they dry them, and that's how you get them. It's one of the easiest ways to save seeds. Corn, year to year, my problem with corn is wind pollinated, right? And it's been proven that corn can be pollinated from hundreds of miles away. So if you're going to do corn and you live in a corn growing area, there's a really good chance that your corn is going to get pollinated from your neighbors, the guy down the road, the giant cornfield the next county over. You're going to, unless you grow your corn at non-standard times, you're going to have some contamination. Is that saying you can't save seeds? No. But if you got weird looking seeds within, like if you look at your cob of corn, and you've got many, many rows of let's say you're doing a sweet, what's that white one? Let's say you're doing a sweet white, like a double sweet white corn. I think it's called Silver Queen. Yeah, Silver Queen. Let's say you're doing Silver Queen. So you got these pretty little white kernels, and all of a sudden you have a yellow one. Don't save that yellow one. That one is a fence jumper. right? Like you never know what you're gonna grow when you grow that one back out. You could be growing field corn, you could be growing popcorn, you could be growing something else, but save the other ones. That's not saying the entire cob is contaminated, because it's not. Corn is very sensitive to growing. To every tassel on a corn is hooked to a kernel of corn. It's like the little silk tassels.
Yeah.
So when it catches some pollen, then that pollen travels down that little tassel to the little corn, little baby corn gamete, and it gets fertilized and turns into a little baby corn kernel, and that little seed is what we eat. And if it has any sort of weird genetics, it's very good at expressing them by changing color, changing shape, something like that. So if you're going to save corn from year to year, save corn that looks like the corn that you ate earlier, not that weird off one kernel color. There are some varieties of corn
that are colorful. Yeah.
At that point, it's a crapshoot. It's
They're just screwed.
Yeah.
All of them.
You're just like, sure. But that's one of our favorite varieties, that Painted Mountain.
Yeah, I love that corn. It's pretty too.
It's beautiful. It's a great old-timey sweet type corn if you catch it at the right time, like right after the tassels start turning kind of brown and crumbly, and before it gets a chance to get starchy. It's a good sweet-eating corn. It's also a good flour corn if you let it go for another week or two after the tassels get kind of sketchy. And it's a really good. We're having a mild breakdown. Okay, so minor meltdown dealt with. So back at the Painted Mountain corn. It's a really good flour corn if you let it dry. It's great for decoration too, man. Now we had those stringing up in the house to dry, and it was just beautiful. Like it's ornamental as all get out. It's great from year to year. It's very fast. It's kind of a shorter corn. I think ours only got like 6.5 feet tall or something like that. It's really, really great corn. Can't recommend it enough if you're going to grow that. And Bloody Butcher, which is a good dent corn, a good flour corn, makes probably one of the best corn meals you could possibly get.
Which one's my standard elote corn?
It's just a sweet,
okay.
I think it's like the golden bantam.
We also grow that.
Yeah, just a sweet corn. So if you're gonna spend the money at like say Baker Creek, sponsor us. If you're gonna spend the money at Baker Creek and get some weird corn varieties, I would plant them I would try to miss everybody else's planting time, and you can just take a 1-minute phone call to your local ag extension office and go like, hey, about what time does everybody else plant corn around here? They're gonna go July 31st. They're gonna give you an exact date of where like the commercial guys within like a 4-day window of when they plant corn. Just don't plant during that time so that you miss the great pollinating.
How long should you wait?
A week. As long as you're 7 days or so off, because when they release pollen, they do it all within about 48 hours. So as long as you miss it by a week, you're
good.
Yeah, you're not gonna have any sort of pollution there, which is pretty neat, right? Like,
yeah, it is.
Corn,
interesting.
Yeah, and you could down here in the South, we can get 3 crops of corn per year. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty neat. I've never really I've tried to grow popcorn, but harvesting it is a pain in the butt. Yeah, popcorn grows big. Well, maybe the variety I did. It was like, 7 foot tall with these tiny little cobs on it. So it was like hunting for the cobs. It was neat because it was pretty, but it's probably not something I would do again.
I grew regular sweet corn all the time with my family when I was younger, and I loved doing that.
Yeah.
And we would harvest it, and then we would make elotes and all that, and it was fun.
Yep.
So we're definitely doing that.
Oh, yeah, we could definitely do that. Just not popcorn. Popcorn's too hard to...
Yeah. That doesn't sound
too
like
much
fun.
work for the little tiny cobs, and then you have to dry them, and then you can pop them. So, and it tastes... I haven't noticed a difference between growing my own popcorn and buying popcorn from the store. I don't know if it's just that I'm not cool enough to notice the subtle differences, which is possible. But
you're way cool.
I'm sometimes cool. But as far now, I do suggest that if you do save seeds from the grocery store, not to get your crazy hopes up if it's a tomato variety or a pepper variety, because chances are it's grown in a different climate than yours, and it might need a season or two to climatize to your particular climate. So that's about it as far as stealing seeds from the store. I do suggest, though, squash from the store, like weird squashes. They do that thing where they do the decorative squashes every year, right?
Mm-hmm.
And some of those decorative squashes, if you're
So cool.
reasonably good at identifying them, because they'll just be like decorative squash for Halloween, you know, and or fall. But some of them are like rare squash varieties, right? Like Blue Hubbards and the turban squash, and also these other ones where you're gonna go and you're gonna pay, you know, $8 for 10 seeds from the store, but you can just buy this squash for $4 on the side of the road, or you know, at your local grocery store for decoration. And a lot of those decorative squashes, if you know which ones are which, are actually really good to eat. Like they're really good to eat. And now, one of my favorite squashes that I ever had, that was, I believe it was a Japanese. No, was it a Japanese variety? It was my, it was a big, crazy one. You know what I mean? Like, it was, man, it was
Kabocha?
no, give me a minute and I'll remember what it is. I don't think, 1 second while. All right, sorry, I had to look it up real quick. So it was the Thai King Cob pumpkin. I grew that just because it was in the seed catalog and it looked really cool. And I was like, I have some space. And I grew it. It made the largest vines of any pumpkin I've ever grown. I'm talking like they were 50 feet long. And it made huge, amazing green pumpkins that matured to this kind of a gray with a little bit of a blush to them. And it was the most pumpkin-y pumpkin in the pumpkin-y world. Like, it was super, super sweet. It tasted almost like it was already like pumpkin pie spiced-ish. It was super, super hearty, even though it was hot as all get out in West Texas. It provided so much shade with these leaves that were way bigger than dinner plates, just absolutely massive. And then we had a squash beetle outbreak, and it powered through. I had aphid problems, and it powered through. I had caterpillar problems, and it powered through.
Super hardy.
Yeah, it was really, really hardy. It did really, really great job, and it was so productive that I think I still got in storage. I think we still got cans of it, like where I canned it for making pumpkin.
Oh yes, we do.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like the best pumpkin pie filling.
You made me a pumpkin. So I wasn't here for the grand harvest and the processing of that, but you did make me a pumpkin pie out of that, and it was definitely different. It was spice. It was like a different type of spice. Like more cinnamon.
Yeah, it has like a cinnamon.
Nutmeg. Like it was just like all like that all in one spice or whatever.
Yeah, like the basic pumpkin pie spice. Yeah, it has its own kind of nutty and it's really, really good. It makes really good pumpkin cookies too, like super good.
We love pumpkin cookies in this house. It's our favorite.
Yeah. Now its flesh is not as orange color. It's kind of a light tan color. So you might add, like, if you're really, really like hooked to the idea that pumpkin pies must be orange color, you might have to add food coloring, or it's gonna have a tan colored pie. But you'll get over it because of the taste. Like it's really, really good. So if you can, I recommend that you do grow that if you have the space. But be advised, like it gets huge. The vine is uncontrollable and will go at 50 feet in every direction. And everything wants to eat it, but nothing can kill it.
Yeah.
Which works out really well.
Yeah. I like that. That's what I like about the Anasazi. Asazi beans. Anasazi beans. Yeah. Sorry, I got tongue twisted there. But that's what I really like about that bean. It's like, water me once. I'm like, I got this. I
Yeah,
got
they
this. Like
just,
I can't screw this up. You
a
know?
lot of those
So,
Native American beans, they need one good watering.
yeah.
And they're going to go, they'll just go off the water that's in the ground because they're really deep rooted.
Yeah.
You know, like they really grow deep roots.
So that's pretty cool. So we have the bean that never dries out. We have the corn that just grows if you drop it, you know, very fertile myrtle. We have the pumpkin that is very hardy. So this is all cool. Like, this is definitely stuff that's going in our garden. Like, I'm very intrigued by this.
Oh yeah, we'll plant the Thai cake cob on the edge of something and just let it go off into the forest.
Yeah.
Because I mean, what I am not
off into the forest of the neighbor's house.
Yeah, like just let it go over there. Just let it climb a tree. Because I mean, I am not joking when I said it goes 50 feet. I planted 4 of them, and I had 120 by like 120-foot garden, right? And it touched all 4 corners. They were just all 4 next to each other in like, you know, one row. I was like, hey, let's just put these guys over here. I'm not that big of eating pumpkins. I learned to eat a lot of pumpkins that year. And yeah, they touched it. It just a massive vine. It's really pretty cool. And you can make it. Now, the only thing that really kind of hurt it was the vine borers. They're like those beetles that drill holes in the vine.
Mm.
Now, to combat those, you just take a shovel full of dirt, and then like every few feet along your vine,
cover them.
You just cover the vine, and that vine will then root right where you covered it. So if they do kill off the mother vine coming out of the ground, it doesn't matter because it's got a whole bunch of other ones, and they won't attack those other ones. They'll only attack where it first comes out of the ground. Pretty cool.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Why?
They're stupid. They only do one. They only do one batch of babies per year. So if you can, the best way that I have found, just similar like with the corn, right? Call your local ag extension office and go like, hey, when do those vine borers usually come out? And they're gonna go, oh, like March 28th through, you know, that they'll give you like a 2-week period. Just don't plant or transplant during those 2 weeks, and you'll skip their entire life cycle. You'll miss them that year. So a lot of these pests only get a 1 year, one time go. Like those, we don't deal with them very often around here, but those cutworms, the ones that they cut off the root of the plant.
That would piss me off.
So you got a plant, it's all pretty and happy, and all of a sudden it's dead. It's because the little green worm runs around next to the ground and just like eats the stems of the plants, and they just fall over.
What do you do for that? Diatomaceous earth? Or?
You can do diatomaceous earth, but they also only do one. They only have one life cycle per year, and they have a very narrow window.
So just cry.
No, they just don't plant during the time when the moths are.
Okay.
Yeah, the moths are only active for like 1 week a year. Just don't plant when those guys are active. Just leave them alone. You can skip their life cycle. Now, once you've broken that life cycle, you've reduced the amount of them in your area. And if you talk to like your neighbors, if you have neighbors, or other people go like, hey, this is the times that I intend to plant my stuff to avoid the pests, then you can get together and ideally everybody just doesn't plant when you're going to end up with those problems. And you skip them. And now your whole area doesn't have those problems anymore. It works out pretty well. That's a noisemaker.
It isn't. I was just thinking, like, we get off topic. I just go.
Well, we used to have the goat bleat of insanity.
Yeah.
But
Me.
yeah.
Yeah. No,
but
that's good stuff.
Yeah, that works out really well.
That's really cool.
As far as saving seed from brassicas is all straightforward. Like brassicas are like your cauliflower, your broccoli, your cabbages. What are the little cabbages called? The little ones we eat all the time. Brussels sprouts.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. So all those are brassicas. They're all one big family. They're all actually the same plant. They're just mutated versions of the same plant. Pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, that's pretty straightforward. You leave them alone. They grow a big giant stem. It gets filled with tiny little black seeds. You cut it off. You hang it upside down over a sheet or something, and then whack it with a broom and catch all the seeds. It's a good project for tiny little children.
that are angry.
Yeah, that are angry. Tiny angry children, little brooms, tiny slave hands. Works out great. Picking up tiny seeds. Now, things that aren't as straightforward, you would think would be really straightforward, is carrots. Carrots are and turnips and beets. They are not straightforward. Guess how you used to get the seeds out of carrots?
I have no idea.
You leave them on the ground for a year.
Well, yeah, that's what I thought. Well, I mean, you grow them from like the root animal. I mean, the root vegetables, right?
Yeah, the root vegetables. So you leave them alone. You leave some of them alone every year, and just leave them in the ground. And the next year, they'll take where their root was really big, it'll shrink and send up a huge stalk that will have
a new carrot.
Well, no, sweetie, it'll send up a huge stalk that turns into this big giant flower, and that flower then will turn into seeds, and then you save it from there. Same with turnips, sugar beets, all the stuff like that. Now beets occasionally will make seeds the same year, but I find it's better for the next year, especially with carrots. Just leave some every year.
We haven't grown carrots, so
I have.
mean, you grew them before me.
Yeah,
but we haven't grown them together, so I had no idea about the seeds. That's pretty cool.
They take 1 year to seed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now those seeds that you gather that year, you can plant.
In my mind, I was like, well, you just cut it, you plant it,
no,
and it grows
like a potato.
Like a potato.
No, sweet girl. But that'd be cool. But,
right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's the way I pictured it. But
you could take a carrot
wrong.
from the store, and as long as it was still damp in the bag before it dries out, and plant that, and get the seeds that year from it.
Yeah. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So it'll still it'll root out in the ground and then send up just seed stock. But once they send up the seed stock, the entire carrot turns woody. Is just totally inedible. It's very, very woody. For your radishes are really easy. Just if you're gonna grow a lot of radishes, you're gonna accidentally grow seeds because you're gonna forget one or two in the ground, and then they're gonna send up that stalk with the pretty little white flowers. Then you're gonna get radish seeds, and then you're gonna brush against it or sneeze in its general direction and have radish seeds just go everywhere.
Oh, is it just like basil, where it's just real?
Yeah, basil just wants to seed like crazy.
Yeah.
You have to fight. Yeah. Basil's really easy to get seeds from. You just don't harvest it for a day, and it starts trying to put out flowers and seeds.
Basil is wild. We really had to keep it contained, to keep it controlled.
Oh, we'd have to cut it. We used to harvest it with the hedge trimmers. We literally just put down like a blanket and just with a hedge trimmer, and then just shake the blanket off into a wheelbarrow, and then just get wheelbarrows full of it at a time and strip the leaves to make our some green stuff pesto.
Oh, I love pesto.
Yeah,
so, we have our own recipe for pesto.
There's like 12 different types of basil.
Pesto was like our best seller at the farmer's market.
Oh,
so we
easily.
would make fresh baguettes, French baguettes, and we would wrap them in brown paper.
They're American baguettes.
Yeah, they were French.
They're American.
In my mind, America. Okay, American baguettes, and it was really cool because people got their fresh baguette and they dipped it in pesto, and we would get comments left and right on our socials, and people that would come back the following week or ask when we were going to make the fresh pesto again, and it was like a recurring thing on our table. Like, it was a recurring product because it grew so crazy that we literally had like basil, coming out of our ears. And so it was easy for us to produce a lot of pesto because of that.
When I say we harvested it with hedge trimmers, I am not joking.
He's not joking.
Gas-powered hedge trimmer.
You probably make people jealous because there's some people that can't grow anything. And then literally you have my husband here that's talking about 7-foot stalks and...
Yeah, well,
and
I mean, I grow basil
trimming your basil with
benign neglect. Basil requires benign neglect. Plant it somewhere now, I think that people have struggle with basil because they think it needs full sun. It does not need full sun. Think of it as like something that needs like 40 to 50% shade. And you'll get bigger leaves and sweeter basil if you plant it somewhere with 40 to 50% shade. So if you have 50% shade cloth, perfect. If you don't have the shade cloth, just plant it next to some trees, just like ring around a tree. It'll also keep nematodes and stuff from your trees. Like,
Yeah.
So it's a great companion plant. But understand that if you give it the correct growing conditions, you're never going to get it out of there because it'll reseed whether you want it to or not. And it will reseed itself in the ground every time and slowly take over an
Who
entire
doesn't
area.
love fresh basil though? It's amazing.
Yeah, until we literally trimmed them like hedges.
And it was great.
Yeah, we had
I never got tired of our pesto.
people would be like, "What is that really neat looking hedge around your garden?" I'm like, "Oh, that's basil." Yeah, it's perfectly square, because I've been trimming, like harvesting it with the hedge trimmers. It's a big full bush, like all the way around the entire garden. Like you would wade through it to go into the garden, and it was literally harvested with a gas-powered hedge trimmer.
So, pro tip, when you're harvesting it and plucking the leaves to process it, I at first initially, I was just plucking leaves like normal. We'd sit there and pluck the leaves. And then I got wise and I started using a plastic colander and I would drag one end of the basil tip to the other and it would like clean off all the leaves for me. And so, and I never told my husband that secret.
That's what you were doing. That's why you were so much better at it than me. I'm sitting there like holding like making a circle.
It was
with
the one thing I could beat you at.
It was like I'm sitting there making a circle with my finger, and then pulling the leaves through the fingers, But by the time I'm done with it, I've got like my hands hurt. I've had enough basiling. My hands smell like they're green and purple, and they stain. And I'm done with basil. If you ever say the word basil again, but
we're growing it.
Oh yeah, no, we're gonna do it again. Just because, man, as far as a value-added product, people, it's really, really, really difficult to beat pesto. It's really simple. Like pesto is really simple to make. I'm just gonna give a generic recipe. Is that okay?
That's okay.
Generic. Okay, so it's not our recipe because our recipe is a little bit not generic. But here's just an absolute generic, run-of-the-mill recipe. Toasted pine nuts. So just buy some pine nuts. They're usually in the confectionery side of a store, or you can buy them online. You just get the unshelled ones because shelling pine nuts is something that will cause a divorce. Or get babies thrown out windows. Shelling pine nuts is very difficult. It is not fun. They are not fun to every time. I've never successfully shelled one outside of my mouth.
Oh, do not.
Well, no, that's how we eat them all the time. Like people eat sunflower seeds growing up.
Yeah, right. No,
we just pop a handful in your mouth and shell them and then spit out the shell. But if you try to shell them,
to shell them for a recipe.
Yeah, no, you're not baby birding them. Baby birding. Yeah, you're not baby birding them back into your recipe. But no, you try to use any sort of object and they squish. They're really soft. So just buy the already shelled ones. You don't need a lot of them. I think 2 ounces of them come from where you can buy brownies and cake mixes. You can usually find the little packages of even down here in the South, the pine nuts. So you take your pine nuts, you throw them in a pan without any oil, and you just
toast them.
Just toast them. Just toast them lightly until they're brown on 2 sides. That's it. Take them out of the pan, immediately put them somewhere to just cool down while you take a ridiculous amount of basil. Many times more than you think you need. You want a lot of basil. The idea here is to make a thick paste. So you're going to take your basil and throw it in your blender or a food processor, either way.
What size is our stainless steel bowl?
8 quarts.
I would say 8 quarts worth of basil leaves.
Yeah, not compacted. But compacted, yeah, you're going to need I don't think everybody wants to make a giant amount.
No.
So you're going to need a pretty good, I'd say a shopping bag full of basil leaves. So that's pretty good amount. So now rinse them off and then just kind of shake them a little bit, let them dry. You're going to take those basil leaves and throw them in your blender. Just pack it full. You can pack the living crap out of it because it's going to be fine. It's going to be lubed up when it turns on with high quality olive oil. Not Walmart brand or anything like that, but really nice. I prefer like a dark olive oil, so like a good earthy, good eating or dipping olive oil. So the light stuff to me, it just doesn't taste much different than like sunflower oil. So it's not really like I like a good rich olive oil. So I take that and then just glug 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 enough to get it to where it'll spit, right? Because you're making a paste, and then throw in your pine nuts, throw in some pinches of salt, and then put in some fresh lemon juice. And then if you want some garlic, but don't put any onion in it. Just a little bit of garlic, a couple of cloves of garlic, and then just blend the living crap out of that, and then until it's a paste. But you don't want it to go. You don't want to obliterate the basil. You want it to be able to see that you got like little microscopic chunks of basil in there. It's just an appearance thing, you know. Now you can take that and put it in your fridge and eat on it for a week or two, or it freezes really well. Or our favorite way is that we can it at that point. It cans very, very nicely. It pressure cans very, very nicely as well. Yep. And that's how we'd sell it. We'd pressure can it in half-pint jars and sell them.
And we had a serious pressure canning system. What do we have? Four burners?
We have 4 burners going with 4 of the big canners at the same time.
And it had 8 jars per. If it was
doing quarts,
jars,
yeah,
it was
we'd have
8 of them per.
But the little
canner.
half pints, I think we put 32 in each one.
I think it was 32.
Yeah,
we
32
because they them, right?
Yeah, 12, yeah, 32, 4 layers tall. Yeah.
Jeez,
almost 4 layers.
It was a serious operation for a farmer's market.
Yeah. And we'd run we'd harvest. Yeah, we'd harvest everything all week, and then Thursday night we'd start canning stuff, and Friday we'd can stuff all like sun up to sundown, and then Saturday was set up, and Sunday we basically slept.
Yeah, Sunday we slept.
Sunday we just tried to sleep.
And then we'd be sad. We'd also be depressed on Sundays because we'd sell out on Saturday, and we're like, oh god, we gotta do it all over again.
While you're selling out on Saturday, it's a great feeling because you're like, yes, America, making some money, everything's going great, and then on the ride home, you're like, wow, what do we even have left?
Yeah,
there's like 1 box of just random stuff, and you're like, but we brought like 30 flats. Where'd they all go?
So our best sellers were
pickles,
pesto, strawberry jam, fig jam,
mesquite bean jam.
Mesquite jelly went pretty fast too.
Yeah.
Our soap was a big seller.
Yeah.
What else?
Pickled stuff like pickled peppers.
Yeah,
were
pickled
really,
peppers
really well.
were a big seller.
Yeah.
Because people like the freshness and they like to add it to their salads. What else did really well? All the jams, blackberry jam,
like the
apple butter.
Apple butter
flew.
Oh man! So we did 2 different types of apple butter. We did apple butter, and then we made apple pie filling. So apple pie filling was really easy, guys.
Yeah.
So it's just I took a bunch of apples and just shoved them in a jar, like a ton of apples, right? And then I figured that jar, that 1 big quart jar, would be enough for 1 pie, and so then I just found a apple pie filling recipe. I think it was in an old Betty Crocker cookbook from like the 50s, right? An old one. There was apple pie filling, and then I just mixed it up in the jar. I didn't pre-cook the apples or anything. All I did was run them through that little doodad we had. What is it called?
The Skinner? Like shaved it. Yeah. It's like a Skinner. It was an old-timey Skinner too.
Yeah, it just skins and cores the apples.
Yeah.
Just shove the thing full of the apples, set them all sliced up in there in a quart jar. Then I just added the sugar, the water, the spices, and then the thickening agent, which I think was cornstarch. And then we just pressure cooked it like that. It all cooked in the jar in its own juices. And it was literally apple pie filling in a jar. And people would go like, well, what's that? You'd be like, that's apple pie filling. How do you make it? You buy a pie crust and you dump this jar in there and then you just heat it up in the oven. And you're done. You've made a homemade apple pie. And people bought that left and right.
Yeah. And then we'd always give them the pro tip.
Yeah. Which was what? Oh, yeah. Pro tip. is you can always add some alcohol to this.
to like, I mean, use the majority of it for your apple pie,
Yeah.
but leave a little something in there for some alcohol. So whether it's like rum, we prefer whiskey, or
People would put like vodka, high quality vodka stuff in there, or like a white whiskey or moonshine type product, and make apple pie moonshine out of it. And that actually just saying the pro tip of like, hey, dump most of this into your pie, but leave like the last like little dredges in the bottom, and then fill it back up with some alcohol and throw in a cinnamon stick, and ta-da, you have apple pie moonshine. And people were like, wow. And they'd come back and be like, that was amazing. Give me another. And
yeah, it was a lot of fun. And,
they put it on, people bought that apple pie filling too, and they put it all over ice cream.
Yeah,
they loved it.
They put it all over ice cream, and I personally made empanadas. So we had like the big. My husband calls it the hand pie fest, but I'm Hispanic, so they were empanadas, and we had a whole debate about that. But that's a story for another day.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I used it for, and it was so convenient. I was just like, okay, cool, I'm good, I'm ready, and they were the best empanadas ever.
Yeah, it was really easy to make. I mean, I'm not stressing about. I'm not making up. Like, I just lined up a whole bunch of jars, shoved them full of raw apples, went down and went like, all right, well, there's like a half cup of sugar in each one. Then went back, oh, there's a tablespoon of cinnamon in each one. Went back, oh, there's a teaspoon of allspice in each one. Not allspice, it was clove, like, in each one. And then just go back and a nutmeg, blah, 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 in each one. And then went back, oh, it's a tablespoon of starch, of like cornstarch each one. And so it was really, really simple. Just go down the line. Then I just went down the line with a pitcher of water and just filled it up to the ring, up to the bottom of the ring. And then put the tops on, then ran them to the pressure cooker for an hour. And ta-da! They were done. And it was because we ended up with an ungodly amount of apples that year.
Oh, geez. We had so many apples.
We had an apple fest.
We had an apple festival. I mean, we had like Bob for Apples. I did apple what were they called, candy apples, but with just like the apple slices for the kids. And I would have them decorate their own little candy apples. We did a apple harvest, so everybody was like picking apples, taking pictures with the apple trees. I mean, there was an abundance of apples. We couldn't give them away.
So many apples.
Yeah.
That people would see us coming and close the doors.
And that's why we like to partner with like the community and like, the pantry, the pantry shelf, or what was that one?
Well, we had the lady that was actually feeding the homeless from her own house.
Yeah.
And she'd take everything we give her.
Mm-hmm.
And she was a big sweetheart. And so we'd take stuff there, but like as far as the food, the local food pantry people, they're pretty picky about produce.
There was this one that we would go to. It was like a church.
Oh, the church ones, yeah, they'll take stuff. But like the government ran ones, they're really picky. They're like, well, do you have your USDA license? I'm like, I have a whole bunch of fruit right here. You guys are always saying how you need donations. No, they want money. They don't want actually food.
I always say if you want to,
teach a man to fish. He fishes, drowned him, and he can't complain anymore. Is that what? Something about clubbing a baby seal?
If you want to stop world hunger, like just plant apples, just plant trees, just plant food.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay.
Like,
I was trying to solve the problem, but you're just going to keep it going by feeding them like pigeons. They just keep coming back. Sweet potatoes too. Sweet potatoes really make a lot of. So how we do sweet potatoes? If we buy a sweet potato from the store, you put the pointy end down, and like the part where you can see where it broke off the vine, but that you're just gonna pop it into a cup of water, and then when the little starts on it, it'll grow up a whole bunch of them. When the little starts get about 4-6 inches long, break them off, put them in their own little thing of water. They'll start rooting, and then you can plant them right in the ground. They're called slips, sweet potato slips. Those are really easy. Garlic, you can find garlic you like from the store. Now, the stuff that has the roots missing on it is stuff that's been imported from overseas. So if you look on the bottom of the garlic and it's got the roots, like it looks like they've taken a knife and they've just like chiseled out the roots. They really have. And those roots are gone on purpose so they didn't bring any sort of foreign soil contaminants in. Now those ones, a lot of them are radiated and stuff, or treated with different things. I wouldn't plant those. But like garlic from the store, there's no reason you can't plant it. It works great. Um, let's see. You can save seeds from any type of fruit. Fermenting it, once again, just the regular standard fermentation, works really well. Even apples appreciate a fermentation. Your apple seed, the rate at germination will go way up just with that. Pears, anything fermented, dried out, planted. Works out really, really well.
So I read earlier that it's kind of gaining its popularity again. I said that earlier too, but saving seeds is.
Yeah.
And the reason why is that people got really insecure with the food supply when COVID and everything happened. And so they started, like we're repeating history literally. And now we're going back to our roots and saving seeds. And I think that I'm like, okay, that's interesting. That's smart.
That is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, I think we've killed that. Let's talk about our news item of the day. And it's scary. So news item of the day is blood red crickets invade Nevada town. Residents fight back with brooms, leaf blowers, and snowplows. So basically the Mormon crickets are on a 4 to 6 year cycle. And it is cricket year. And they're just taking out Elko, Nevada, and rural northwestern Nevada. Is just like, these are 2-inch long crickets. So we're not talking these are little black guys. That, like,
this is why I tell you I need a flamethrower.
I would totally be down. Except the problem is that a couple beer later and everything looks like it needs a flamethrower. It's like, why take out the trash when I can just toss it up in the air and hit it with a flamethrower? Yeah. So these guys are really, really crazy. They're not like the little tiny black crickets that like make chirp, chirp, chirp noises. And then we do get like cricket infestations, like the little black guys.
Yeah, we had it really bad here in Texas one time.
But I don't think they're that bad because like everything eats them. Like we'd go and sweep them up. Or, like they'd go to like grocery stores or like gas stations at night would have like them all over the place. They would just take like a bucket and just sweep them into the bucket and then take them home and dump them into your chicken coop and watch your chickens go crazy, right? So, but these are not like those little harmless crickets.
No, these are huge.
These are 2-inch long crickets. They're going to kick your chicken in the face and make it call it daddy, right? These are huge. These are 2 inches from butt to head, and like they're very robust. They look like giant. They look like very large locusts without the wings, right? There's so many of them that they're causing car wrecks, like on turns. People just sliding on cricket guts right off the road. They're calling it like a biblical plague. But these guys are just like eating everything. So much so that they start chewing on like wiring. They when they run out of food in an area, they eat each other. They're just where we've been really getting our butt kicked as a country. From droughts, from the cattle die-offs, from the weird terroristic fires that have been taking out all the food processing plants.
The farms that are
just mysteriously
poisoning.
Yeah, there was that farm we covered last week who got poisoned somehow, and they're thinking it was a drone now.
Oh wow!
Somebody flew a drone with a sprayer over his property, which that's scary. That would be so heartbreaking. So now we have like ginormous crickets running around. It's insane. And like these guys are so many of them. They're clogging up drains. They're clogging up ditches, like the irrigation ditches, and causing them to overflow. There's just it's hard to believe, but like if you look at the pictures, if you guys go and Google this, it's like cricket invasion, and just hit the hit images. You'll see the size and scope of this is just amazing. Like, and you're wondering, like, these guys can't grow anything. They haven't been able to grow anything. They haven't been able to grow. I mean, there's so many of them. They've disturbed the cattle. They've disturbed the chickens. Their food is completely out of whack. And, like, what happens when they die?
I would have so
It's
much
gonna
anxiety.
smell so bad.
Yeah, it did. Well, even with the crickets here, like the carcasses I used to work at a department store way back then. It was like almost like 10, 11 years ago when this happened. But it was like a cricket infestation. And when you had a pile of cricket carcass, it stunk. And I hated it.
Carcasses.
Yeah, that's not a thing. That's not a song. It's not, no, it's not happening.
It's not a song.
And so I could just imagine what these people are going through, and it's giving me anxiety just looking at these images because it's really terrible. Like I'd be like, do we have in our scenario? Would we have a vacation home that we could go to and hide from the crickets?
I'm not gonna run away from crickets. I'm gonna murder them.
Not crickets. Yeah. What with a flamethrower? What do you do? Burn the house?
Well, no, because they're not spiders. If they were spiders, I'm out.
Look at that.
No, I'm just out.
That's like, let's just shovel them into a barrel, into a wheelbarrow.
That's fine. That's good fertilizer right there. That's America. I guarantee you dig a trench and just shoo them all into it. Throw some dirt over the top and make great tomatoes the next year.
Yeah, maybe.
That's nitrogen.
Anyway, well, that's just sad. It's really sad that they're going through that and experiencing that. That's gross.
It's really sad. Like,
and the farmers, I really feel for the farmers out there.
Oh man, most of that area that's out there is rangeland, raising cattle, and there's just nothing. There's no grass. There's nothing. There's nothing. They're gonna have a heck of a winter between having to bring in hay, but all of the deer and everything that are out there don't have anything to eat for the winter. They're gonna have a heck of a die off too this winter. It's gonna be a bad time. What do you got? Because the crickets kind of threw you off there.
Yeah, the crickets did throw me off.
There's so many. They're so crickety.
Many. I think that's all I had, honestly. And then just the fact that, saving seeds is a thing now. Like, master gardeners are doing it. They're starting to do it again. So I think that's really good practice, especially if you're, on the more preparedness side. Like, it's always good to have seeds. I always think of that. I always think of Mad Max, that girl that would carry the box of seeds and, that was her life. Yeah. Literally, I always feel like every year I buy seeds or
we bought our seeds this year.
Yeah.
We bought some seeds.
I bought a lot of seeds just because.
Where did you buy? I was buying seeds.
I know you were buying seeds, but I bought seeds too. I didn't tell you though, because I wanted to buy what I wanted to buy.
Well, I wanted to buy.
Exactly. And so now we have a lot of seeds.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It was just good practice. I did get nervous. I was one of those that got nervous because of our food supply and things that were going on, and that's why we're, really looking after what we can do and what we can control, because you can only control what you can control. So.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about our plants of the day and our tree of the day. So our plant of the day is going to be the Charleston Grey watermelon. So this is like America, all-American watermelon. One of the best all-American watermelons of all time, it says. Super sweet and full of flavor. This popular variety dates back to 1954. The long gray green fruit grows to 20 to 40 pounds. The red flesh is virtually fiber-free and very tasty. Yields are very good, and melons are excellent for home or market.
Sprouts in 5 to 10 days?
Yeah, they jump out of the ground.
What the heck? Okay, yeah, we're definitely doing that because 4th
we
of July.
Have some. And it takes 90 days. We're not going to make it for 4th of July.
Dang it.
Yeah, we're not going to make it for 4th of July. So these guys are really, really cool. You want to put them about 3 feet apart. But this is like an American watermelon. It's not stripy. It's kind of like a gray-green mottled color. Really great. One of those places, as usual, when we're talking about seeds, a lot of the times you can go and get them from Baker's Creek. And this is a real popular variety. I have grown this before along with Alibaba, which is another popular variety. Except that I brought my Alibaba seeds back with me from Iraq. And then they started offering them for sale. And I thought I was really cool. But I was the only person that had Alibaba there for a few years. And now they're all over the place. And so bonus plant of the day is going to be lemongrass. And we grow lemongrass here around all of our container plants. So basically, if we have a plant that's in a container, like a tree, let's see, our orange trees and our lime trees all have lemongrass in them.
Mm-hmm. And we literally got it from the Asian store and just planted it in the ground.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Mm-hmm.
There's no reason to start this thing from seed, guys. You just go to your Asian store, Asian grocery store, and you'll find bundles of lemongrass. And just get the greenest looking stuff. You don't want the stuff that's all tan and been sitting on the shelf for a while. You'll find green looking, fresh stuff. They just jab it in the ground. That's it. There's no special treatment. Just total neglect. Just jab it in the ground and it grows. Now, you're like, all right, guys, why am I growing lemongrass? I don't need lemongrass. What lemongrass is where the actual citronella type, insect repellent actually comes from. The citronella plant is just called that because it smells like it. Not that it actually does a very good job of keeping bugs away. But the actual chemicals that come from citronella that keep the mosquitoes and everything else away when you buy it in like candles and stuff comes from the lemongrass. Is they just grow massive amounts of it, process it, extract the oil, and use the oil for that. So growing this and then grabbing a handful of it and rubbing it on yourself keeps the bugs away. Also, when you're outside sitting around and you have all this, because it's a really attractive plant. It grows, like 2 foot tall, big fancy grass leaves. Is that the bugs tend to leave you alone if you're surrounded by this. Mm-hmm. So planting it around your deck, planting it in your, and it seems to really like to grow with citrus plants. So when we plant our citrus usually in trash cans or very large landscape tree containers, just so we can wheel them in and out. If they're like a frost hardy citrus, we just leave them in the ground. But weird stuff or weird citruses, we like to be able to move them around to chase the sun in the winter. And so we just jab a couple of these in there, and they shade the ground. They keep the plant itself from getting sun scald on the stalk of it, like what do you call it, the trunk of the tree. It works out really well, really good. And then our tree of the day is going to be the Loquat tree. Loquats, once you've seen a Loquat, you're going to be driving down the road and go, that's a Loquat, that's a Loquat, that's a Loquat, that's a Loquat. They're really, really easy to spot. They're really, really easy. And a lot of people don't know that tree that they're growing is ornamental, has edible fruit. And they just let it fall on the ground and it just stains the sidewalks. At least around here it does. So about the Loquat trees, it's a unique disease-resistant fruit tree that fruits in the spring. Loquat trees are sometimes referred as Japanese plums, are a type of fruit tree that is native to southeastern China. They're members of the Rosaceae family, which also includes other fruit-bearing plants such as apples, pears, and cherries. These trees are known for their oval-shaped yellow or orange fruit, which is a sweet, tangy flavor and a soft, juicy texture. Loquat fruit are very similar to apples in that they are high in sugar, acid, and pectin. Loquat trees are
pectin, really?
Yep, you can use the loquats to just like you use apples to make your
jams.
Jams, you can use loquats.
Interesting. That's like the natural pectin.
Yep,
then.
That is the natural.
I'm definitely going to try that out.
Loquat trees are medium-sized trees that can reach a height up to 30 feet and spread 20 feet. They have a rounded, open growth habit and characterized by glossy, dark green leaves that are white, fragrant flowers. The trees produce their fruit in the spring and early summer, adding diversity to your early season harvests. The fruit is ready to harvest when it turns yellow or orange. Loquat fruit should be allowed to fully ripen before picking. Loquat varieties do not ripen well off the tree and are usually quite tart when picked early. Ripe loquats have a sweet or slightly acidic flavor. The juicy flesh may be white, yellow, or orange with a yellow or orange blush peel. Loquats are tasty when peeled and eaten as flesh. You can freeze a whole fruit. They make excellent jams, jellies, preserved cobblers, and pies. In addition to their tasty fruit, loquat trees are valued for their attractive appearance and ability to attract wildlife. Fragrant flowers, blah, 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 keeps going on forever about them. They are really, really easy to grow. In Texas, anyway, they're really good for drought tolerant, dry conditioned. Really, if you're just going to water your lawn once a week, you can grow it.
I really love the theme. That seems to be the theme today. Like the easiest, most hardiest plants and vegetables.
Well, try not to pick stuff that's going to be hard for people to grow.
I love that.
Yeah.
And on that note, don't be afraid to experiment. What's the worst that can happen? Doesn't grow? Okay, what are you going to learn from it, right?
Exactly.
It's not the end of the world. Just try again.
Get out there and experiment, guys. If you find a weird fruit you like, save the seeds. I mean, you can save the seeds from like strawberries from the grocery store. Just pick the little seeds off the outside. Don't ferment those; you'll lose them. But you can just pick the little seeds off the outside and then plant those, and they grow. Now, how to plant those seeds? You just sprinkle them on the soil, and then just press them in with your thumb, and then just gently water them, and then wrap the top with like plastic wrap.
Yeah.
Or put them in the little cups like we have, the little to-go cups or like ketchup cups with little tops on them. So the little greenhouse effect keeps them moist. But if you bury the seeds too deep, they won't sprout. Some of those really small little seeds like that actually require sunlight hitting them and the moisture to make them fruit.
I want to grow strawberries in a hydroponic vertical tower this go round.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah.
I was gonna do those in
Adventures in Hydroponics.
Hydroponics. Yeah. We're gonna do that, and we're gonna do the hydroponics like our standard hydroponics, and then the long ones and big gutters and stuff like that.
And we're gonna experiment.
We're gonna grow. Yeah.
Yeah, we're
gonna see which way works best.
Yeah.
We're gonna grow a lot of strawberries because the market for them is it never ending.
They're so expensive now in the store too. So
their market for strawberries, I could see that being a big money crop for us.
Oh yeah,
because we can turn them into so many different things from jams, chilies, syrups,
cremadas,
whatever you called me. I'm offended.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what you said, but I'm offended.
It's like strawberries and cream.
Oh, okay. Yeah, then we can freeze dry them too. I mean, there's so many different ways. So
many things we can do. Chocolate covered strawberries.
Turn them into fruit leather.
Yeah. Yep. Fruit leather.
Fruit leather is a real popular one.
Yeah. We'll talk about that when we talk about our dehydration session. Did we already cover dehydrating foods? I think we did.
We covered
some, but it wasn't like the main topic.
Yeah, we didn't just do this is just recipe download.
Yeah.
Grab your pens and pencils, ladies and gentlemen, because it's going to be a long episode.
Yeah, and as we're making things, of course we'll share recipes and whatnot. So you guys aren't like, okay, I grew all this stuff, now what? We're going to give you an action plan on what to do, and then if you want to monetize it, then we'll give you an action plan on how to do that as well. So we're here to help. And
we're eventually going to start making our Patreon, where people will be able to come in and interact with us, and then at different tier levels receive seeds and stuff from us, right? So if we get our hands on, if we grow a bunch of your Anasazi beans, we can a tier 2 would be we ship you a package of everything we grew that year.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
Here's your seed package. It's got all of the weird stuff we did, some melon seeds, some different stuff like that. So we're gonna start a Patreon as soon as we can figure out how to do that. And then we'll have different levels that people can get on and receive neat stuff back from it. So with that said, do you have anything positive to say for the day or the week? Besides, you've survived so far.
I've survived. I've lived. It's been a rough week. I feel like I say that every week, though.
Yeah.
It's just busy. Busy's good, though. Don't be afraid to try something new, take a plunge, take a dive. Worst thing is didn't work out. Okay, great. I can't tell you how many things I've tried and how many things I've failed at, how many things I've learned from, and that's just evolution. That's just life, right? I mean, I'd be one hell of a boring person if I didn't do anything, if I didn't take a leap and try things and learn things, and I'm just not that type. We're very multidimensional in this household, and we encourage Alina to have that same creativity and mindset, because you're not limited to anything. You have so much knowledge at your fingertips, literally. And take advantage of it. Don't squander it off. Don't be an NPC. Be real. Be a part of life. Don't just exist. Really live.
You're not supposed to swear.
Sorry. Not bad. You can edit that out.
Probably. But so kind of with that is that people have this device in their hand and on their person all the time that has all of the knowledge in the entire world at their fingertips. The entire Library of Congress. We've never been more connected to being able to answer any question. You can look on your phone at pictures of the bottom of the ocean or the moon or anything else. And people just use it to talk crap to each other and look at cat videos. Right? I mean, You can
I
really.
can't tell you how many times we're researching and researching and researching.
That's all I do on my phone.
And then we learn something new, and people are like, it's hard for people to keep up and like pivot with us. And we're like, I mean, to us, it's just normal in our household. We're just always going. It's like the hamster is always running in our minds, and it's the poor little guy.
I gotta play. I play this one game at night just to slow my brain down enough to sleep. Like I lay down, have a ritual.
Yeah.
Lay down, turn on a podcast, turn it down low, and play this one game until I just find myself snoring. Or until you elbow me and go, "Hey,
turn off your phone."
game."
Turn off your phone. The light's bothering me.
I gotta slow down to where I can sleep.
I mean, he's right. We limit ourselves. So if there's something that you don't know how to do, it's on you because you have all the resources and tools, MacGyver. You just got to take advantage of it and do it.
Yeah. And with that being said, thank you for listening, guys. We really, really appreciate that. We picked up a bunch of listeners in France.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we had somebody reach out to us from Australia.
Yeah,
kudos.
So, Big Blue, thanks. Big Blue reached out to us from Australia and is going to try to see what they can do about Australian finger limes, which has been a dream plant of mine for a very, very long time. Who doesn't want a lime that's full of caviar?
Yeah.
Little caviar little things in it, right? It's really, really neat. So, Big Blue, we really appreciate you. Big support of the show. Shout out to you. Thank you very, very much. With that being said, if you'd like to support the show, you can go ahead and do that at our Venmo. Venmo is going to be, at This Pharaoh Life. If you'd like to go ahead and send us an email, hate mail, or just chat us up, ask us questions, or to clarify something that we've said on the podcast, you can go ahead and do that at thispharaohlifepodcast@gmail.com. You can go ahead and support the show as well by getting some super sweet merchandise, which is going to be at thispharaohlife.etsy.com. With that said, guys, thank you for being part of our family for this episode. We really appreciate y'all listening every week. It gives us something to do. We enjoy spreading the knowledge. If there's any particular topic you would like to listen to, or have questions about, you can go ahead and shoot us an email. Once again, that is going to be thispharaohlifepodcast@gmail.com. Thank you, guys, and shout out, family. We love you.
Family Fug. Good night.
Good night.